The Zephyrian War Council convened in the gleaming command chamber of their flagship, Eternal Dominion. Admiral Kethvar studied the holographic display of the blue-green planet below with clinical detachment. The third planet of this unremarkable solar system housed a species the galactic databases had classified as primitive bipeds, hardly worth the Empire's attention, save for the rich mineral deposits beneath their world's surface. "Preliminary scans confirm the intelligence reports," announced Commander Wylix, her crystalline voice echoing through the chamber. "No energy shields protecting their cities, no particle beam defenses. Their most advanced weapons appear to be chemical propellants firing metal projectiles." She paused, mandibles clicking in what passed for amusement among her species. "They call themselves humans." Admiral Kethvar's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. In 3 centuries of conquest, the Kawi, Zephyrian Empire had never encountered a species so technologically backward that still possessed spaceflight. Their own scouts had detected primitive vessels leaving the planet's atmosphere, yet these creatures seemed incapable of mounting any meaningful defense. "Estimated conquest time?" Kethvar inquired. 72 hours, Admiral. Perhaps less." The invasion began at dawn over what the humans called the Pacific Ocean. 12 dreadnoughts descended through the atmosphere like falling stars, their hulls gleaming with energy shields that could deflect anything the primitives might throw at them. The humans' communication networks immediately erupted with panic-stricken chatter in dozens of languages. Commander Wylix monitored the transmissions from her position on the bridge. "They're broadcasting surrender offers already," she reported. "Multiple governments requesting terms." But Admiral Kethvar had not conquered 47 worlds by accepting early surrenders. "Ignore them. Begin the demonstration." The lead dreadnought's primary cannon charged with a low hum that built to a crescendo. A lance of superheated plasma erupted downward, striking a small, uninhabited island. The landmass simply ceased to exist, vaporized in an instant that left only superheated steam where solid ground had been moments before. "That should convince them," Kethvar mused. It did not. The first sign that something was amiss came 6 hours into the invasion. Long-range sensors detected movement in the asteroid belt, far too organized to be natural drift. "Admiral," the tactical officer called out, his voice tight with confusion. "We're reading artificial structures throughout the asteroid field. They weren't there during our initial survey." Kethvar's primary eyes narrowed. "Impossible. Our scans were thorough." "Sir, they appear to be hollow asteroids. Hundreds of them. And they're moving toward us." Before the Admiral could respond, the first human counterattack began. What looked like unremarkable space debris suddenly split open like mechanical flowers, revealing sleek vessels that had been disguised within actual asteroid shells. They moved with a grace that seemed impossible for a species that supposedly barely understood interplanetary travel. "Evasive maneuvers!" Kethvar barked, but it was too late. The human ships didn't fire energy weapons or launch missiles. Instead, they released clouds of what sensors initially dismissed as space dust. Only when the particles struck the dreadnought's shields did their true nature become clear. Each mote was a microscopic machine, designed to bore through energy barriers at the molecular level. Within minutes, the Zephyrian shields began flickering and failing. "How is this possible?" Commander Wylix demanded. Their technology level was deliberately misrepresented, Kethvar realized, with growing dread. The humans had hidden their true capabilities. Every orbital installation, every defensive platform, every advanced technology had been concealed or disguised. What the Zephyrians had interpreted as primitive satellites were actually sophisticated sensor networks. The chemical propellant weapons detected on the surface were decoys, masking the true defensive grid hidden underground. As the battle raged, the humans employed tactics that defied Zephyrian understanding of warfare. They used their own disabled ships as weapons, ramming them into enemy vessels with suicidal precision. They hacked into Zephyrian communication systems and flooded them with false data. Most bewildering of all, they fought with a coordination that suggested they were willing to sacrifice entire fleets for strategic advantage. "Admiral," the communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the planet's surface." The holographic display shimmered, revealing a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. Her species' primitive facial features were arranged in an expression Kethvar couldn't interpret. "I am General Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth Defense Command," she said. "You came here expecting to find a primitive species. You're not entirely wrong. We are primitive, compared to some galactic civilizations. But we've spent our entire evolutionary history learning one thing very, very well." She leaned forward, and her eyes held something that made Kethvar's ichor run cold. "We know how to fight dirty." As if summoned by her words, proximity alarms began screaming throughout the Zephyrian fleet. Human ships emerged from the planet's moon, not from bases on its surface, but from vast, hollowed chambers within the satellite itself. The humans had turned their own moon into a massive weapon platform, but the final shock came when Admiral Kethvar realized the truth about human tactics. They hadn't just hidden their technology, they had deliberately appeared weak to lure the Zephyrians into a trap. Every invasion protocol the Empire had perfected over centuries was based on fighting opponents who met them in conventional space warfare. The humans had no such conventions. They used gravity wells as weapons, dragging asteroids into collision courses with enemy ships. They employed psychological warfare, broadcasting haunting sounds across all frequencies that somehow interfered with Zephyrian cognitive processes. Most disturbing of all, they seemed to view their own casualties not as losses, but as acceptable costs in service of victory. 6 hours after beginning what should have been a simple conquest, Admiral Kethvar found himself staring at tactical displays showing 30% fleet losses and climbing. The humans weren't just fighting back. They were winning. "Sir," Commander Wilich said quietly, "perhaps we should consider their surrender terms." Kethvar's mandibles clicked in bitter irony. "We never gave them a chance to offer any." On the surface of Earth, General Chen watched the alien fleets retreat through the command center's observation deck. Around her, exhausted officers allowed themselves brief smiles of satisfaction. "Think they'll be back?" asked Colonel Martinez, her tactical advisor. Chen shrugged, already turning her attention to casualty reports and damage assessments. "Maybe, but next time, they'll know better than to assume we're weak just because we fight differently." She paused at the door, looking back at the star-filled sky where the alien ships were disappearing into hyperspace. "Besides," she added with a grin that would have terrified Admiral Kethvar, "we've got 3 more moons to hollow out." The Zephyrian Empire would mark Earth as a forbidden zone in their star charts, and the story of the primitive humans who fought like demons would become legend throughout the galaxy. They had learned, too late, that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology, It was the willingness to do whatever it took to survive.